Morning, everyone. We PMI UAE chapter welcome everyone for joining us another time for UAE chapter webinar. Right now it's 7:00 p.m. We'll start the webinar at 7:05 p.m. till we get all the attendees joining us. So hope everyone had a good day. Please introduce yourself in the chat list by sharing your LinkedIn IDs so that you have time to network with other attendees. Good evening, Hafiz. Good evening, Sayed. Good evening, Renuka Verma. And please introduce where are you joining from? Good evening, Sunil. Good evening, Omer. Good evening, Hafiz. Oh, people joining from Dubai, Russell Khema. Then we have from Kuwait, UAE. We are UAE, Abu Dhabi, New Jersey. Oh, that's Anupama. Yeah. Good evening, Nawal. Good evening, Hisham. Good evening, Venugopala. Good evening, Tamir. Good evening, Fatima. Good evening, Vijesh. Good evening, Mahendran Balan. Good evening, Mohammed. Good evening, Hussein. So we have mostly people from joining Saudi, Abu Dhabi, Russell Khema, UAE. Good evening, John. Adil from Oman. Good evening, Adil. Good evening, Haitham from Qatar. So till now we have 78 participants. Hope to get more people joining by 7:05, and then we'll start the webinar. Good evening, Majdi. Good evening, Sibi. Good evening, Joyce. As we all know that a few of the people are there who have already joined our webinar before. So it will be a webinar for 1 hour, 15 minutes, which will have a presentation by our distinguished speaker and a question and answers round. In the meanwhile, you can again put your LinkedIn IDs in the chat box, introduce yourself, and you have a time to network with other attendees. So we'll take 1 more minute. Till now, we have 93 participants joining us from different part of the world. And then we'll start our presentation. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Fadi. Good evening, Andrew. Also, please share your email address that you have in your PMI account to get the PMI credits for you get for this PMI attending this webinar. So it's 7:04. We're gonna start our webinar. As we have people from different time zones, we say that good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We at PMI Chapter UAE welcome you all for joining us for another PMI UAE Chapter webinar. We are thrilled to welcome you all for a PMI UAE webinar. and we'll be discussing on a topic called empowering leaders, release them to reach their potential. My name is Ankur Arora, and I'm the host for today's sessions for the webinar, along with my colleague Achal, Reena, and Amir. Before we begin, I would like to again thank to our distinguished speaker and to you all for joining us today. As you all are joining and sparing your time for this webinar, this shows your commitment to learning and growth, and we are truly honored to have you with us. We still encourage you for sharing your thoughts throughout the session in the chat box. Even you are asking a question, you can ask in the question and answers segment, and you put your valuable suggestions and thoughts throughout the event. And before we start, I would like to remind you that you can introduce yourself in the chat box. Now, proceeding with the PMI chapter UAE presentation. PMI chapter UAE. PMI was founded in 1969 by a group of working project managers, and 50 years later, PMA is now the source and resource for all the things of project management. We are one of the largest professional association in the world, issue globally recognized standard and credentials. They offer training and accreditations and communities, sponsor and publish research, thoughts, leaderships, and knowledge content. Our chapter vision, empower and influence individual with the innovative project economy principle to turn ideas into a reality. Our mission to disrupt and create value-driven opportunities to our chapter members and partners to become agile, innovative, productive in the platform for the growth of project economy. Regarding our chapter, we are totally run by 100% volunteers. We have more than 4,000 active chapter members, ranked among 5 top chapters in PMI EMI region. We focus on leading industries and trends, serving the UAE aspiring community of project managers, PMI certified holders, and project and program professionals that are seeking the project management capabilities and offering you belief in the importance of the profession. We are totally dependent on you, as you are the people who are making this chapter successful. Our board, led by our president Adil Sultan and supported by other directors from different board of directors. PMI membership benefits, you get an access to PMI PIMBOK, you get a certification discount of to 30%, you get access to PMI standards, PMI pick and career navigators, you get access to community projectmanagement.com, you have an exclusive events only for only for the members, and tools and templates, publications and reports, etc. Membership benefits. We got our 4 pillars: networking, learning and knowledge sharing, career growth, and events. As this webinar is a part of events. Our new initiatives: introducing Member Corner, introducing Member Spotlight, and introducing Beyond. You can also join us on our social network in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Now I'll pass on the stage to Achal, my colleague, who will take it further. Over to you, Achal.
Thank you, Ankur. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks, audience, for giving your share of time on this busy mid of the week time, taking time out of your family and your office work as well. We are glad that you are with us. And I hope that this session will add some kind of knowledge nuggets to all of you to take it something from here. Coming to today's webinar topic, what we're discussing today. So we are discussing 2 important abstract key areas about human philosophy. One is leadership and one is empowerment. So how they are knitted together, why they are sitting together, should they sit together? If they sit together, what happens? And when they mix together, what happens? And we don't mix them together, when we don't combine them together, then what happens? These are some of the important areas or the curiosity-based questions which can be asked to our esteemed speaker today. She has been pretty talented, and we've been talking to her just before the session as well. Let me introduce quickly about her before taking much more time of her share from that level. So let me introduce Anupama. Anupama is at the moment living in New Jersey, US. So she's definitely in the different time zone. So thanks to her for taking the time of the different time zone to be with us. She's certified DISC consultant, a motivational speaker, leadership coach, of course, PMP and PGMP certification holder. She has been working in the IT project management before, and recently, when after taking a break, she was looking to grow and learn something. So she came in touch with Maxwell Leadership, and that's where she got some inspiration to do some kind of work on herself. And today's output or outcome is one of the byproduct of her learning as well. So with that in mind, she is also a mom of three and a committed individual who she was passionate and also believing truly into the servant leadership aspect and developing all the leaders around her. So that's about Anupama. Anupama, please welcome. And then, of course, we are here to learn something from your experience. Over to you. And we are looking forward to see that what our audience take it from here, and we will be ready for the questions at the end as well. Over to you, Anupama.
Thank you, Achal. Let me share my screen and just confirm you can see and hear. Oh, my share sound seems to have stopped. All right, that's okay. Okay, everybody can see my screen?
Yep, visible
Cool.
to us.
All right. Since my sound doesn't seem to be working, I'm going to skip this video, but it is on my YouTube and I can send the link later. Just to give a little bit brief about this video, it is about an old man sitting in a park and a little boy sitting right next, as you can see on the cell phone. This is how all our kids are. The old man is tipping his hat to greet others who are walking by. And after a few times seeing how the folks who are walking by reacts to the old man's greeting with a smile, the boy decides it's better to take his hat from his bag and do the same. And that's leadership. Because leadership, as my mentor teaches us, is influence. I heard leadership is influence, not a title or a position, 5 years ago. That was the first time I had seen John Maxwell speak on YouTube for free. And it caught my attention because I thought leadership was all about title and position. Having grown up in India, I have seen leaders only who had a title or position. I didn't think anybody else was a leader. I didn't think my mom, who was a stay-at-home mom, was a leader. But now I think differently, and now I share it with others. I went to your website, and this might be a repetition because I didn't know this was going to be on Ankur's slide. But the vision that I see your chapter has is empower and influence individuals with innovative project economy principles to turn ideas into reality. Again, empower and influence is the common theme across various PMI chapters because I've been speaking at other chapters and I've seen the same words coming up. And it's great to see that. The mission, as you heard, is to disrupt and create value driven to your chapter members and partners to become what? Agile, innovative, productive in the platform for the growth of the project economy. There are some great values that your chapter follows. I hope you know them. If not, it might be time for you to start checking it out. At the end of this presentation, I am going to ask you a few questions and make sure that you are paying attention to what I'm sharing today. But I want to focus on empowering leaders. So good evening to all of you and good day to whoever is not in the evening time frame. It's great to be here today and to have the opportunity to spend the next few minutes talking about a topic that I think is just so fascinating, a topic that makes such an enormous difference to the results of any organization, any individual. For that matter, that's the topic of leadership. There isn't any part of an organization, or better yet, any part of our life that leadership doesn't affect, whether it's leadership of self, leadership of others, or leadership of leaders. It applies to everything. If you think about it, strong leadership is at the heart of every sizable human achievement, and it always has been. Why? Because everything rises or falls with leadership. As mentioned, my name is Anupama. It means unique, and I do love my full name. I got my PMP and recently I got my PGMP certification and decided that I am going to pivot. I'm going to take a different route. For the past 5 years, I've been an international keynote speaker, and I love what I do. I did my master's from IIT Bombay in mathematics and specialized in computer science, worked in UK for British Telecom for a year and a half before I came to US. When I joined IBM, that's when I decided that I am going to become a project manager. I was a software developer working on mainframe, COBOL, DB2, and I loved what I did. But one of my project managers saw something in me and asked me, why don't you take on a project management role? I said, I don't want to deal with people. That's not me. I used to be a shy introvert. I thought, I don't like conflicts. I want to stay away from people management. I just want to get my job done. But things changed for me. So leadership is influence. Even if I didn't think as myself as a traditional leader, I am only going to be as successful as my ability to lead. Every interaction we have with another human being is an attempt to influence them. A mother in the home, is she a leader? Is she attempting to influence her children? She spends all day doing nothing but leading, doesn't she? I've got 3 children who are young adults now. I actually have a new grandbaby. And everything is a negotiation or an attempt to influence them. When they were younger, I used to say, put these socks on, get in the car, or please don't put your fingers there, right? That's trying to influence them in different ways. And I believe as a mom, I am a leader. I got certified with John Maxwell in March of 2019. And an important aspect of this is to understand that you cannot lead any more people than your ability to influence. Leadership is influence. The higher you want to climb, the more you need leadership. The greater the impact you want to make, the greater your influence needs to be. I had the privilege of meeting John C. Maxwell in March of 2019, the first time. I have been speaking at various PMI chapters. Last month, I spoke to PMI Singapore chapter. Next month, I'm speaking to PMI Washington, D.C. chapter. Yesterday, I was at PMI California chapter. Thanks to Zoom, I can be all over the place at the same time. John Maxwell says, leadership is not about doing it alone. If you want to be a successful leader, you must develop other leaders around you. And that's why I decided to speak and share my leadership journey so that I can empower you to be able to become an empowering leader, not just an empowered leader. And I'll tell you what the difference is. Great leaders, the truly successful ones who are in the top 1%, all have one thing in common. They know that acquiring and keeping good people is a leader's most important task. With that in mind, the most important and essential message of the 2 books that I am going to be referring to is you can't do it alone. You have to reproduce other leaders. And I know this is true for your chapter as well. As per the strategic plan that I saw on your website, it said the event team, which is empowered to execute this strategic plan, has one of its approaches to have a centralized event. And it continues to talk about how the event team is being empowered by the board, which is great because it is all about not trying to do it alone. It's about wanting to develop leaders around you. So I have a question for you. What's your expectation? Why did you come here today? What made you sign up for this webinar? If you can put it in the chat, I would appreciate it. I want to get an idea of what brings you here before I share with you what I bring to the table. So if you can put in the chat, what brings you here other than I want a PDU? I know everybody wants that. Grow. Love it. Empowering my team, new aspects and ideas and ways to communicate. Well, I don't know if I'm an expert, but that's good to know. Handling challenges as a leader. Yes. Leadership skills, leadership habits, better leader, how to empower progressive leadership model. I like that. As a new project manager, I want to know the best practices to lead effectively. It's better to start from the beginning the right way, right? Competence, growth, developments, new strategies. All right. Well, my main goal, and you can continue to, I will check the chat later, but you can continue to put in what your expectation is. I have only one real objective, and that is for each of us to have a clear picture on the ways we can increase our connection and contribution to deliver higher results. John Maxwell has written 2 books. One is The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and the other is The Leader's Greatest Return. The points that I'm going to share today are from these 2 books. The Law of Empowerment and Empowered Leaders. Those are the 2 chapters that I have picked these teaching from. Those closest to a leader will determine the magnitude of his or her success. That's why a leader has to take responsibility for training and equipping a core group of leaders. An organization's growth depends upon the growth of its personnel. And the more people you lead, the more leaders you need. Successful leaders maximize the abilities of those they supervise and empower them to exercise their influence. Why? For the benefit of the organization. So the leader's key question is, am I raising potential leaders? Leaders must be environmental change agents, actively crafting climates that are encouraging and conducive to growth. Leaders who create an obstacle are not great leaders, but leaders who create hospitable climates, believe in their people, see their potential, and focus on their needs. They preside over a culture that emphasizes productivity rather than position and prefers to promote from within rather than hiring from outside. I know in the IT world, many times companies are always seeking talent from outside when there is talent inside the company. So we need to make that shift and we need to help make that shift. Nurturing leaders learn the needs of those they lead and genuinely attempt to provide for them. However, before leaders can be nurturers, they first must build trust. How? By offering time, respect, and unconditional positive regard to potential leaders. So in addition, nurturers understand that people tend to grow in the direction of their leaders' expectations. And that's one of the reasons that I asked you what your expectation was. As a leader, we need to ask that question to our team. What is your expectation of my leadership? And for this reason, nurturers believe the best about those they lead. So the leader's crucial task is nurturing potential leaders. Developing people is the highest calling of leadership, but it's also demanding work. It takes more attention and commitment than either nurturing or equipping. The development process, it draws out a potential leader's best qualities, shapes their character, and helps them discover and reach their potential. John Maxwell says in the law of significance, 1 is too small a number to achieve greatness. Whether it is in a village in India or a city in Singapore or in UAE or a stage in New York City, once we embrace the fact that one is too small a number to achieve greatness, we begin to focus on being part of a team. Some of us love being on a team. We take pleasure in the support and contributions of others, but not everyone works easily in a group. So, how many of you have worked with a leader who empowered you, who gave you the right resources, responsibilities, and let go of the leash and let you achieve your potential? That's a leader who practices the law of empowerment. So, how do you know whether you are practicing the law of empowerment? Are you giving the right resources to your team? Are you allowing them to take responsibility? And are you letting go of the leash? Are you giving them the freedom to achieve their potential? Then you are an empowered leader. I hope so far what I have shared has given you some insight. Let me give you an example. So I was asked to take on the role of a survey team manager for PMI New Jersey chapter. I decided I did not want to do it alone. The person who was in my role was doing it independently for quite some time. So I got volunteers to sign up to be part of the team. We got 5 of them on the team. There were more than 5 who raised their hands saying they are interested. What did I do? I decided to first give them some time to learn what's done, what is currently being done. For 3 months, I gave each of them the mundane work of sending out the surveys, sending out the emails, collecting the survey results, and sharing the results with the event owners. Some of them liked it, some of them didn't. I got to observe them, understand what their strengths are, what excited them during this process. And then I assigned them different type of roles. One person took on the role of overseeing the symposium surveys, only the symposium surveys, the professional development day that you might be calling it. We just had it this past May. For months, he worked with the symposium team to build the surveys that was customized. He loved it. He was excited. Why? Because he owned it. Another person loved interacting with event owners to create new surveys. That excited her. She wanted to know what are the new ideas that could be brought in. There was another one who loved to put everything on a smart sheet and track the progress. So each one had their own strengths. But if I would have just assigned them the work without understanding their strengths and empowered them, I don't think they would have reached their full potential. So what are you doing for your team? How are you identifying what their strengths are? Are you taking the time to observe and reflect? That's a question I want to ask you as you continue to empower and influence individuals. You need to make sure that you look at each member in your chapter as an individual who is going to be reaching their full potential, and your chapter will be greatly successful. So the question that I have for you that I want you to start thinking about, as a coach, I ask a lot of questions, and you can note it down and answer them now or later. Name a leader who has shown you unconditional positive regard. How did that person's goodwill impact your development as a leader? Why do we want to go back and think about a leader who has impacted our life? Because we all like role models. But we also need to not just look at someone and say, oh, that person was great, they had a great impact. Go deeper. Understand what is it that you liked about that person? How did they impact and influence you so that you can do the same or do better? Next question I have for you is, how available are you to the potential leaders on your team? As a leader, we really cannot pay attention, 100% attention to all the team members. At the beginning, yes, but later on, you have to identify and attract potential leaders and give them a little bit more time so that you are more intentional about spending time with them and nurturing them and equipping them and empowering them. But how available are you to the potential leaders on your team? Further, think about who helped you to develop as a leader. I remember the first project manager who saw the potential in me and helped me to think big, to think differently. I would have still been a software developer if it was not for that project manager who asked me to dream big, who asked me to explore project management. Do you know what motivates the people on your team? If you do, well, can you leverage that knowledge to help them grow? If you don't, how can you learn about what drives them to excel? There are many tools out there. One of them that I got certified in is the Maxwell Disc. There are tools like Myers-Briggs, StrengthsFinder, Working Genius. Use any of the tools out there. But identify what are the strengths and how can you leverage that on your team. I'm going to pause a minute here so that you have some time to think about the leader who had an impact on you. And if that leader is on this call, put the name in the chat. Let them know that they had a big impact in your life. Sometimes we forget to acknowledge those whom we meet along the way in our leadership journey. And it is important for them to know. Why? Because it encourages them to continue to impact other lives. And it will also help you to have a sense of gratitude. So take a moment and share with us who has had a great impact in your leadership journey, who impacted your journey and made it more powerful. How did you learn from that leader? And I'm going to check the chat for a second. Anika says, out of the 10 managers I've had, I would say 2 of them played an active role and led with intention. Love that. Jad said, Hadi. I hope I read it right. My father, who managed a team and is still leading at age 70. Love that, Ajo. David, Waji, Modi. Your bro and your boss. Mr. Adele, who recognized my skills and empowered me to lead. Awesome. My first maintenance manager, my father, my manager, Mr. Mohan. My friends. Rinto, I would definitely encourage you to think through the names of your friends specifically. Sometimes we generalize a lot and we forget, again, to be more intentional about it. My old manager who taught me to say no. That was something I had to learn. I used to be an yes person. Anybody wants to hear something? Yes, Anupama can do it for you. Now, well, that was after I started this leadership journey of mine. Before, I never volunteered for much. If anybody gave me the task, I would get it done. But I started volunteering a lot, and then I had to learn how to say no. My former teacher and American manager delegated 99% and gave all the trust. I see many of them saying father, which is awesome. First manager gave me space to grow in my first job. Love it. All right. Now let's go to the next part. Current board of directors are doing a great job of leading us. It is extremely challenging, I'm sure, as we are all supporting as volunteers. Good to hear. Okay. So this was the second video I was going to share again, since the audio is not working for me today. Yesterday it did work. I don't know what, actually this morning it worked. But I will share the link. It's on my YouTube. It's a video about this man is teaching this girl how to make a sandcastle. It's a powerful video about how empowerment works. It's a 5-minute video. You can watch it later. But let's talk about how to be an empowerer. How many of you have worked under the leadership of someone that undermines you? How was your performance, your morale? Did you find yourself tired, annoyed, and failing? Even though he or she may have been an outstanding entrepreneur, manager, director, or CEO, his or her leadership did not promote your growth. Would you say he or she was a successful leader? I don't think so. I hope you would say no too. Well, there are 3 barriers to empowerment. The question is, what are the barriers to empowerment? Number 1, job security. You don't want to give away any of your power to another you are leading. You possess a fear that they will take away your job. Remember, it's in giving that you receive. That's the cycle of life. For example, just breathe in deeply. Take in as much air as you can and hold it all in. Don't let any out. How do you feel? You have to exhale if you want to take in more air, right? You cannot hold all the air that we have. That's the same with leadership. A true leader empowers others so that they can become better leaders themselves. They can give away their power and then they will find other opportunities. Number 2, as a barrier, is resistance to change. Fear of the unknown holds back our potential. No one really likes change, even though most of us can see the advantages. Empowerment brings constant change because it encourages people to grow and innovate. So I want you to name areas in your life where you know you are consciously avoiding change and growth. What is holding you back from moving forward? Find someone you can confide in and discuss this and make a plan to move forward. You have to be intentional, or else you will always resist change. Number 3 is lack of self-worth. Far too many people are afraid to venture out because they feel they're not good enough, they're not smart enough, they're not attractive enough. The list goes on and on. I know I still used to have the imposter syndrome. Even though I was in project management and I led many projects and many teams, I always had this fear. What if? What if someone finds out I'm not good enough? What if someone finds out I'm not smart enough? That always held me back. Now, I know I am good enough. I know I am smart enough. I shifted from a shy introvert to a confident introvert. Look at yourself in the mirror. What do you see? Write down a description of what you are looking at in the mirror and then examine your list. How many observations are negative? Self-conscious people are rarely good leaders. They focus on themselves and what others think. They can't give power to others because they feel they have no power themselves. Examine yourself and be honest. If you aspire to be a great leader, you must live by the law of empowerment. Here are some other reasons leaders don't empower others. I love acronyms. So to remember this, I put it as TCCPPS. The last letter starts the next time and goes on like this. Hopefully it will help you too. The first one is lack of time. Many leaders feel so much pressure to get tasks done that they never step back from doing to see where they could be, releasing people to take on greater roles. The tyranny of the urgent keeps the leader short-sighted and continually running to keep up. Second one is lack of confidence in others. Some leaders have difficult time trusting others and placing their confidence in them. They fear that another person won't get the work done to their satisfaction or will otherwise let them down. But the reality is that you can't get much done if you do everything yourself or have to personally direct every action you want others to take. Number 3, self-confidence. This is an can I do best mindset. We all know that what that is. It is a belief that others are not capable of doing the task as you can. That belief could come from inflated ego, or it could be accurate that your gifting and your skill are so high that they simply can't do the task as well as you do. What do you do then? If it is a responsibility that you can't delegate, then hold on to it. However, if it is not, and you are able to delegate the task, and others may be able to do it 80% as well as you can, then you should be working towards empowering them to do it. Then is self-promotion, where people like to be able to say that I did it, and they like to keep doing it because they love it. You should be empowering someone else for that task. Why? So you could be doing something bigger in the organization. Then is missing people. Some leaders have difficult time finding people to empower. I remember facing this situation when I was ready to quit IBM. I worked for IBM for 9 years, 9 months. When it was around 8 years, 6 months, I knew I could do more. I knew I wanted to explore other opportunities within IBM. As a consultant, we could do that. But we could not find someone to take on my role. What did that do? After working with my manager for a year, trying to find a replacement, trying to train someone who got trained for some time and then left, I decided I could not stay there anymore and I quit. Sometimes it could be that you do not like asking for help. Think instead about the vision for what you desire to achieve. Then invite people to join you in achieving that vision. Finally, is missing skills. Some leaders simply don't realize the importance of empowering and releasing people to be successful, or they don't know how to go about doing it. If that's your situation, then this teaching is hopefully going to help you. So, of the 6 things here, which one do you think is holding you back from empowering others? And what is a step you can take today to overcome this? Theodore Roosevelt says, the best executive is the one who has sense enough to pick good men to do what he wants done and self-restraint enough to keep from meddling with them while they do it. The truth is that the only way to make yourself indispensable is to make yourself dispensable. In other words, if you are able to continually empower others and help them develop so that they become capable of taking over your job, you will become so valuable to the organization that you become indispensable. I did that on the Maxwell leadership team. We are 50,000 members. I decided to volunteer my time to serve the leaders. I did that for the past 3 years. Now, I am in the top 1%. I am known by name by the top leaders. I interact with them on a weekly basis to schedule their calls for all our members. How did I do that? By taking on roles and training others to do what I was doing and then rising up the ladder. It's all volunteer work, but it doesn't matter. If you want to influence others, you need to learn how to empower others. Here is another technique that I used. I love acronyms, as I mentioned to you. So this acronym is B. 3 steps to take to empower others. Believe, endorse, empower. Are you a lifter of people? What do I mean by that? Have you come across someone from work at your local grocery store and you immediately hide so that they don't see you? And then there are others in your town or in your city whom you meet You get drawn to them. You are excited to see them. They are lifters of people. Who comes to your mind on your team? Who is definitely a lifter of people? Now, let me ask you this question. Would you be on the list if we ask one of your team members about this? Your greatest single contribution in terms of empowerment can be seen in your interaction with others at work. So, how do you become a lifter, or how do you know if you are a lifter? By following these steps. You should be able to say, and you can plug the name of the person in here. For example, I believed in Joyce before anyone else did. I endorsed Joyce's leadership to other leaders. I empowered Joyce to reach her potential. If you can say that, then you have empowered your team member. To be an encouraging leader, you have to be willing to take chances on people. You have to look for the potential in them and encourage them to believe in themselves. And that can be risky because they may not come through. But if they do, the payoff can be huge. You may be responsible for inspiring a new leader, just like the project manager who inspired me, to achieve things he or she never thought possible. And leaders never forget the first person who believed in them. That's why I still remember the first project manager who believed in me and told me to explore project management. My speaking coach, Roddy Galbraith, did that for me. It's easy to give an opinion about a person or subject after other leaders have given their support. It's something else to step up and speak before anyone else does. That's what Roddy did for me. He didn't wait until other leaders endorsed me before believing in me. In fact, he believed in me even before I believed in myself as a speaker. I didn't think I could speak in front of a huge audience. I wanted just to be in the background doing my work, getting paid. That was it. But Roddy saw the potential in me. If you want to be a successful leader, you have to become an empowerer. One of the best things you can do as an empowering leader is to sing your people's praises to others. When they are doing a good job, tell everyone. Be especially intentional about praising them to their friends, families, but also bring them before other leaders. Help them make a connection on the strength of your credibility. Roddy endorsed my leadership to other leaders. We have a biannual leadership conference led by John Maxwell and other leaders. It is called the International Maxwell Conference. Roddy selects 10 speakers, only 10 speakers, to be on stage to give a speech as part of his speaking workshop. In August of 2022, I was one of the 10 he selected, and I got to speak in front of 5,000 leaders. 2,000 were in the room, and rest joined us virtually. Only secure leaders give power to others. Only empowered people can reach their potential. When a leader can't or won't empower others, he creates barriers within the organization that people cannot overcome. If the barriers remain long enough, like it did for me, the people give up or they move to another organization where they can maximize their potential. And that's why I started helping others in their leadership journey. Roddy created a program for us that would allow us to be able to empower others. The connection between Roddy and I did not end there. After Roddy's endorsement enabled me to be viewed as an international keynote speaker, I started speaking at other events, and I decided to start my own speakers club. To be an empowering leader, you must do more than believe in emerging leaders. You need to take steps to help them become the leaders they have the potential to be. You must invest in them if you want to empower them to become their best. Empowering leaders take a personal investment. It requires energy and time, but it's worth the price if you do it right. You will have the privilege of seeing someone move up to a higher level. And as an added bonus, when you empower others, you create power in your organization. I'm going to pause here to see if there are any questions and how much time I have left before I move on to the next slides. Any questions, comments, and how much time do I have, Anshul?
But if something is there, I will let you know so far, but we can continue meanwhile if you want to.
Okay, how much time do I have left?
10 minutes.
Okay, good. Okay, let's talk about the 10-80-10 principle. As project managers, we love all these rules and 80-10-20 rule and different principles. So what is the 10-80-10 principle that I have used in my journey as an empowering leader? The first 10%, I communicate the objective, the vision, which is the head of the project, what must be done, the mission, the heart of the project, why it must be done, and then the values, the soul of the project. This tells the spirit in which it must be done. And remember, what was the vision, mission, and values of your chapter? Anyone? I would love to see how many of you know, other than the board members. I'm sure they do. I see 132 people on this call. Who knows the vision, mission, and values? Anyone? All right, here is a recap. Take a screenshot, memorize this. Next time, your board members are going to ask you this question. What's the vision, mission, and values of PMI UAE chapter? It's important for you to know as you are part of the chapter, as you are taking steps to make sure that it is not just an organization that you are a member of, you are helping grow the chapter. You are helping each member to find value in what is being done here with all these events. My speaking coach empowered me and released me. That is important. You have to release the people that you are empowering to develop other leaders to communicate and connect more effectively. And you might ask, how did I go about this? How did I implement this in my journey? By using this 10-80-10 principle. In the first 10%, I told you how I communicated the objective. The second step that I took is I asked questions to help them plan. What are the questions you can ask? What is the potential that they see in themselves? What are the potential problems that they expect will hinder their progress? For example, if someone says they want to be part of my speakers club, I ask them, why do you want to be in this club? Why do you want to be a better speaker? Do you see yourself as a speaker? Where do you see problems that would stop your progress? And do they have any questions? Because I want to make sure I answer the questions that they have rather than give them a whole lot of list to do and they were not asking for it. And then how can I help them? I want them to know that I'm available if they have additional questions later on. So these are going to help them set them up for a win. In John Maxwell's book, The 17 Indisputable Laws of Teamwork, he says, in the law of niche, that all players have a place where they add the most value. So knowing our strengths is a place to start. Hence, I ask those questions, and for some of them, I encourage them to take one of the assessments. Doesn't matter which one it is. The next thing that you can do is provide resources. One of the members of my club, she was keen on hosting a mastermind where you bring people together, discuss a book or a concept, and brainstorm. But she was hesitant to do it by herself. I gave the forum to practice her speech and gather feedback, and I partnered with her to host the mastermind. So I provided the resources. I offered encouragement. Another member of my team was participating in the Toastmasters International Speech Contest. She hosts a radio show herself each month. I helped her to move from can I to how can I. How did that change? If you ask the question, can I? you are putting doubts in your mind. If you ask the question, how can I? You are opening your mind to other opportunities. I do that by reminding them of their strengths and of what they have already accomplished. And finally, release them to take ownership. I release them to take ownership. As soon as I believe that I've set my leaders up for success, I release them to complete their objective. Why is it essential for them to take ownership? Because I want my leaders to think of themselves as people who take ultimate responsibility. Every person in a key seat should be able to respond to the question, what do you do? Not with a job title, but with a statement or personal responsibility saying, I'm the person ultimately responsible for X or Y. For example, I told you about my team of survey team as a survey team. The person who was given the responsibility for the symposium is able to say, I am the person who was ultimately responsible for the symposium surveys. And that's what we want each of our team members to be able to say. So remember these steps. Communicate the objective, ask questions to help them, provide resources, offer encouragement, release them to take ownership, and allow them then in the middle 80% to rise to their potential. Leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality, says leadership expert Warren Bennis, and you guys have it in your vision as well. That's what empowering leaders do. How do they do that? Empowered leaders add more and better ideas. Empowered leaders seize opportunities. Empowered leaders use their influence, and empowered leaders facilitate the success of their teams. I am honored and privileged to be empowering others. And in the last 10%, I want them to win. So I try 3 things. I add value if I can. I give recognition to them and their team and circle of influence. I ask questions to help them learn from their experience. Questions I ask is, how was your experience? What did you learn? What would you do differently next time? And we might think, well, if I empower everybody else to become speakers, what about me? That has not stopped me from speaking at other events. It will not stop you. You will be sought out just like I am being sought out now. And that's what empowerment does. So how are you going to use the 10-80-10 method? John Maxwell put it in the book. We applied it. My leaders applied it, empowered me. I'm applying it and empowering you. Now it's your turn. So what are you going to do? How are you going to empower others? How are you going to use the law of empowerment? What is your biggest takeaway? Here's something that I leave with as I end. I want you to have an action plan. Take a few minutes, take a screenshot. What could you do to take greater responsibilities for your role? How are you developing as a leader right where you are? What is one thing? Don't think about too many things, just one thing. What's one thing you could do to have greater impact in your role? And spend some time reflecting on empowering others where you can do better in this area. I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity. And I do have 2 webinars on projectmanagement.com. You could get 2 more PDUs by going and watching those webinars. But it has been a pleasure speaking to all of you. And I hope you found value. And I'm here ready to answer any questions. I do have my speech that I gave on the Maxwell stage on my YouTube channel. And you can definitely watch that. It's a 2-minute speech. But remember, only secure leaders give power to others. Question time.
Great. Thanks, Anupama. I think there will be a questions, and yes, I can see some questions popping up now. First of all, how has you have put it through is that most importantly, you have given really a good inspiration to the people who are introverts. You spoke about how to become a shy to then confident introvert, right?
Yes.
That's a very powerful thing in itself, because what happens then, the people who are normally extrovert, it comes naturally to them, even though they are not natural influencers.
Yes.
But they are zone of speaking and then thinking that they're inspiring, but speaking and inspiring are two different concepts, right?
Yes.
So as you explained yourself, so I would like to take some questions, of course, to put it you through. One is that very easy one for you to take it up, but Joseph is asking, how did it feel for you to give that speech in front of 5,000 people? Was it scary? Was it empowering?
I
What was the
would
feeling?
say I actually got selected the year before on the in the top 15, and only 10 could go on stage. 5 was a backup, and I was
Mm,
ready to go there. But
mm,
I worked on that speech for 6 months before I was ready then. And then when I didn't get to go up, I decided I'm going to work on it again. And it actually was good because my speech got better. I had only he said only 3 minutes, but I did my speech in 2 minutes, 30 seconds, and it was powerful. So it was scary, but I've learned how to shift my nervousness into excitement.
Okay, great. So it was exciting. That's really impresses all of us. That and gives the confidence that it's not only scary feeling, it can be the other side as well. So
Yes.
other one, basically, how do you handle the negative queries? Benel is asking that. And second one is that in the real-time scenarios, empowerment doesn't occur naturally, right?
Very
Until
true.
it is an intentional at times, then really it really becomes inspirational. But in the normal scenarios, it doesn't come out. So what's your take on it? And then how do you handle negative queries or negative sentiments forced on you when you are a speaker, for
Mhm.
example?
So I would say in many organizations, it's not easy, especially in middle management, for us to kind of say, okay, I'm going to change everything. This is not good. This is not right. And
Mm,
it's not easy for us to do. What I have learned is if you cannot do it in the organization that you're working,
mm,
find a place where you can practice it. And then it will, people will see that in you and they will want it from you for the organization. So, for example, when I started, I was in between jobs. So I did not have an organization to say, okay, I'm going to change things here.
mm,
Right. So I started volunteering my time with Toastmasters International, with the Rotary Club, with other organizations like PMI. But I was not on the board to change things for the PMI New Jersey chapter. I decided I am going to do what I can where I can. And I started with the Toastmasters Club. We started a new club in my town. I took on an officer role and said, let's start empowering others. Everybody on this officer role should roll off to hand it off to someone else. So we actually identified officers and co-officers. And that's how we implemented empowerment. What I'm doing now with the PMI New Jersey chapter, now that I'm on the board, yesterday or day before, I just got the approval to start a Toastmasters Club for the PMI New Jersey chapter. And we again identified officers and co-officers. So you can do it where you can now, and eventually people will see what you're doing outside of work and say, hey, why don't you bring that in? Right. And with the negative feedback, it is inevitable that you will get negative feedback. When I started my journey, I got a lot of, I actually participated in the Toastmasters International Speech Contest. I got to the district level. I was a third place winner at the district level the first year. But I got a lot of negative feedback. The first time it was not good. I did not like it. I said, I'm a great speaker. That's why I participated. What do you think? Why do you think that I'm not good? Right. But now I've learned to filter out some of the negative. There is something good that you can learn from them. So it's up to us to filter out what is good for us, because it might be, for example, I'll give you example. When I was in the contest, I had different characters in my speech. I was talking about my dad, my mom, and myself and my son. And they said, you should use different voice variation where everybody's talking in a different tone. I couldn't do it. Right. But then in another Toastmasters club, they said, why don't you just shift your position when you're speaking as a different character? That worked for me. So I could have said, nope, I'm not changing anything, or I could just move on to what will work for me. I understand that there is value. I understand that if I do it differently, it might be more impactful, but the differently is different for each person. So take the negative as a learning opportunity and find the lesson in it.
Thank you. That's a really great answer, Anupama. Um, Abu Bakr is asking again, are leaders are born or made? What's your take?
I think it's both. There are some, when we say leaders are born, it's more about, do some people come forth with that they have that talent or the urge to lead, right? They are like, I want to be able to lead the way. And some are, I don't think I can do that. People like me, right? I didn't think I could lead, but I learned how to lead, right? But either way, even if you are born as a leader where they think they have the inborn talent, you still need to nurture and you need to learn how to be a better leader. I don't think they can just go with, I'm the best leader just because I have that inborn talent. So could be both, but either way, there is a lot of opportunity to learn and grow.
Thank you. Fatima is asking, the question is around that, how do you overcome?
Oh, I lost you, Anshul. How do you overcome? All right, I think I'll go to the Q&A and see if there is any question. How to overcome the obstacles in yourself that prevent you from being that leader or influencer you want to be? Any practical steps? You cannot give what you do not have. The first step that I had to take was self-leadership. I had to start with myself. I had to believe in myself. I had to find people who believed in me because I needed that nudge. I wanted to believe in myself, but there was all that negative thoughts in my mind. So I sought out a coach, a mentor, not just one. I have a separate one for speaking. I have a different coach who helps me with my coaching. I have a different coach who helps me with my leadership. So you can find, you don't have to have just one person helping you in your leadership journey. Find people you admire and ask them, will you help me? Will you give me the nudge? I tell people, don't push me. I am not someone who can push you, who can work best when I'm pushed. I'm someone who can work best when I'm challenged. So my motto is be challenged and lead on because I challenge people. I used to be a people pleaser. Now I'm a people challenger. So find someone who will challenge you and give you the space that you need to grow.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, Anupama. In fact, that really inspiring because the reason is that we always try to find somebody who can really empower us in that segment, as you said that, but we require a more of a kind of challenger to us rather than just saying that, yeah, you're not good at it or you are very good at it. You know,
Correct.
and that's the very dilute and very balanced approach, which you have to find it out that particular space.
Yes.
Last question, I would like to take it before we will wrap it up for Ankur. While empowering from Dheeraj, by the way. So when empowering only certain members in a team, how we manage the disgruntled other team members and how to keep them motivated. So some are being empowered, some are being not. How to balance.
So here's what John Maxwell teaches us. At the beginning, give everyone same time, right? As you
Mhm.
are joining new to the team, have a one-on-one meeting with them. Let them know what your expectations are. Ask them what their expectations are. Set the expectations upfront and then see how their performance is. Based on that, let them know that I am going to spend additional time with people who are ready to go above and beyond, not just meet the expectations. So they already know this is why he's spending more time or she's spending more time with that team member because they did something more than what was asked for. And that way they can't complain because they didn't step up. Yeah.
In fact, so I think that's very, there are a lot of questions which we can definitely answer in different times, but because of the time, I would not be able to take it up. I would like to wrap it up with that particular thing that what I have got it in that particular learning from you is that basically we have to really see that how the empowerment, we need to balance it out with leadership and how we need to marry with each other to create more leaders and coming out of that zone where we think that we cannot grow if other people grow around us. So with that in
Yes.
mind, Ankur, over to you. The stage is yours now.
And I would love to take a group picture if folks come on camera. I love pictures. So-
I think the camera, I think, I don't know, is that they're allowed or not, Amir bhai? You're on mute.
Can take.
You can take. Yeah.
Okay. So as Ankur is wrapping up, if folks can come on camera, we'll take a quick group snapshot.
Okay, audience can start their camera. If you can, then she can take a picture for all of us.
They don't have an option for the
You
camera.
don't have option? Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was
Oh,
asking
okay.
Amir actually.
No,
So
no
there's no option
problem.
for audience.
We'll just take for with all of us here with all the attendees that we have, and Ankur, you can wrap it up.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Achal. And a big thanks to Anupama, you for sharing your insightful, valuable insights and experience on empowering leaders. You shared a lot of theories by John Maxwell. I mean, one of the theory was like one is too small a number to achieve greatness. You shared the principle called 80-10-80-10, which is like we should all implement in our lives. Plus, I mean, your guidance on nurturing and developing potential leaders was truly insightful. I mean, we have learned a lot of things, and I can see from the comments people have really learned a lot of new things, or must be aware of, but they can implement those things in their daily life. And the one you have mentioned, standing in front of a mirror and asking yourself, I mean, how well do you lead yourself? I mean, this thing will help everyone in their daily life, in the busy, I mean, the business and everything, they can help us. Big thanks to you for sharing all your journey with us. I mean, being from a mother of three and then into this thing. I mean, addressing 5,000 people, it was a big thing. We appreciate each one of you for attending and making this webinar a success. And we say that your engagement and questions were valuable into the discussions. We wouldn't be here without dedication of our team. Thanks to our marketing team for promoting the webinar on our website and social media. A special thanks to our PMI chapter volunteers for membership, outreach, volunteering, and finance team for their invaluable support in making this event possible. Finally, a big thanks to Achal for being my colleague in this webinar, and Achal and Reena for the contribution behind the scenes. We hope that you found this webinar helpful and can start thinking like a leader and implementing these principles in your own life. We look forward for seeing you for the next upcoming webinars. Good night for tonight. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks all. Thanks,
you.
audience. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care. Good night.